Chaos. My life is utter chaos. Now I know what you're probably thinking. This girl's only a teenager. She hasn't seen anything yet. But I have. I've been through a lot, actually. But as I grow up and get older, I realize that there's a purpose to all this madness that is my life. It all started when I was 2. Now I know that might sound hard to believe, but it really did. And whether or not it seems realistic, I remember it. All the vivid details. The good and the bad. At the time, it pretty much all seemed bad to me. Daddy didn't love Mommy anymore, and I couldn't seem to figure out why. Divorce? What does that even mean? Was it my fault? Was I not a strong enough force to keep them together? I was 2. My only sister at the time was 4. We felt so alone. We knew we had each other, but we were so unsure of the future and how life was going to look. We were scared and afraid of the chaos that was surely coming. Dad moved out soon thereafter, and we were once again struck with confusion. "Mommy, Mommy," we cried, "will we still see Daddy?" Our mom was so calm and gentle in that moment, but now I look back and know she was hurting. Adjusting to a new schedule was difficult at first, but soon it became the new normal for us. Although we weren't by any means fans of the situation, we got used to only seeing our dad a few times every week, as opposed to every day. Despite everything, the sun kept shining, and our lives continued onward, despite the chaos. We started going to church more, and eventually, Mom met so many new people, but most importantly, someone very special. He became her best friend, and soon, her fiancé. Well, luckily for my sister and I. He had 2 daughters as well, who we were already great friends with, which meant that we would always have someone to play with. They got married shortly after I turned 4, and it was great. Our little family had doubled in size, and it was so refreshing to feel so safe and secure again. It was as if our best friends had become our family. Our childhood together was amazing. From playing Barbies to riding horses to endless games of tag and hide and seek, I was on top of the world. One day after church, my parents gathered us all and said they had something important to discuss with us. We weren't really used to having super serious conversations, so we all immediately became very jittery. "So," my mom began, "how would you guys feel about having a little brother?" Now, I knew as well as the rest of my sisters that our parents had been going to foster care classes for quite some time, but for some reason, I never really thought that adding into our family could become a reality. Our little family of 6 was my safe place, and I was nervous for change to come. I also realized that a younger brother, keyword younger, meant that I would no longer be the baby of the family anymore. Nevertheless, the next thing I knew, we were buckled up in a car and driving for what seemed like hours on our way to pick up our new baby brother. Okay, I'll be the first to admit that I'm not a sappy person. I don't get worked up over little cutesy things, but this baby boy was adorable, to say the least. He was so little and innocent, and even though I barely knew him, I had a love for him in my heart that I couldn't explain. As soon as he got home, we all instantly became obsessed with him. I mean, come on. He was 2 months old and so tiny. He had our hearts from day one. We all wanted to be around him as much as possible, despite the crying and very, very smelly diapers. I soon realized that I was worried for no reason at all. Months went by and everything was great. Yeah, I had new responsibilities as a big sister, but I was okay with that. Life was becoming normal again, and I craved the routine. Then March rolled around, and I found out that we were going to be gaining another new family member, and it was, yet again, another little brother. This time I was much less nervous. I now had a heart for these kids who needed a family. His transition into our family was more difficult than the first, but regardless of the differences, our house was fuller than ever, and I was determined to make the best of it. Every day I had to choose to have a good attitude and enjoy my little brothers, and even though they definitely drove me crazy at some times. After the second boy had entered my life, I was sure that our family, well, in regards to size at least, would not be changing much till one of us got married and eventually had our own kids. This thought stuck with me for almost an entire decade. I got so used to what was normal that I had no worry at all regarding any changes. The thoughts of any family change ever again drifted so far from my mind and everyday thoughts. Until just last spring, adding to the family once again. I wasn't scared this time, but I also didn't want our family dynamic to change. This time, however, it wasn't just one more boy joining our family, but 2. I was excited more than nervous, and I just wanted them to move in as soon as possible. My older sisters had both gone off to college at this point, and the house had been feeling kind of empty lately. But what I did not realize was that these two new boys were going to be so drastically different from any other member of our family. I now had twice as many younger brothers as before, and they were all so close in age. I was happy because my brothers were so excited, just as excited when I was when I first got my two new sisters so long ago when I was just four myself. Although I knew it would bring some craziness, I knew that they would be a great addition to the family. There are moments when all four of them and I, and all of their chaotic behavior, drives me beyond crazy, or when I just want to be left alone and they just can't seem to resist barging my room to tell me every little thing that happens to them. However, I wouldn't have life any other way. I know that I have a strong family that cares for me, and all 10 of us are a crazy, wild, and definitely chaotic bunch. But I know that we all belong together. I am so thankful for my insane, chaos-filled family. My life would be so different without all the many things that have happened to me. And it always hasn't been easy, but I can truly say that I have learned to love the chaos.